Welcome to TTN's A Story to Tell short series. We'll be sharing with you on various topics as we go along, and today we'll be doing empathy, what exactly it is and how we can improve. We have a very special guest who will be sharing with us. Stay tuned.
When I think about empathy, the person that I invariably find that I go back to most in explaining it is Paul in the Bible. He said, I entered their world. I tried to experience things from their point of view. I didn't take on their bearings. I kept my bearings in Christ, but he became all things to all men, that he may by all means save some. And he also went on to say, like, to the immoralist I became that. To the religious I became religious. And when I think about it, I think in order to be able to relate to persons and have persons feel like you understand what they're saying, there has to be a strong sense of relatability. There has to be a strong sense of just wanting to really understand where the person is coming from, and to, in essence, see things from their point of view. I can appreciate in a large sense the saying that says, you walk a mile in a person's shoes, that's how you'll be able to understand what the person is saying. And while there is a lot of merit to that, there are also concerns there for me because, for example, I'm not a pet person, and in years gone by, when I would hear somebody say they've lost their pet and so they're grieving, real life grieving, it was such a strange thing to me because I don't place that much value on a pet as somebody who is grieving over a pet does. And it was just very hard to appreciate the validity of their grief. But what I have found is that being able to relate to someone more on the basis of feeling as opposed to experience is really powerful. So I might not have value, I might not place a strong value on a dog dying, but I place a strong value on a parent dying or a close friend dying. So in order for me now to be able to really empathize with the person who is sitting sharing with me how they feel about their dog dying, I am able now to relate to that person based on my experience because I can understand what loneliness feels like. I can understand what shock feels like, because you would have gone through your own grief of another sort. I've also found that it's in extending empathy, it's very important to leave one's bias, their own dispositions. As sure as each person is dynamic and different, there has to be an appreciation that the person who is sharing with you whatever experience they may have had, that they are different, their cultural background may be different, their upbringing may be different, the fact that they're dealing with other things in life may be different from what I am dealing with, the fact that they are the kind of coping mechanisms they would usually use, or perhaps defense mechanisms that they might probably have, may be completely different from mine, and it doesn't necessarily illegitimize their way of coping. It's just that if I'm going to be able to really enter this person's world, to see things from their point of view, it is going to be very important for me to rinse myself of how I would deal with this. So my dog died, that not mean nothing to me. I just, please, and it would be very it would be very harsh and unbecoming to project that onto somebody who, you know, places value on the loss of a dog. And so I think that's something that is very, very important. Sometimes we may be talking, the person may be sharing with us, and we're so quick to jump in and say, oh, you know, I had this situation too, or the same thing happened to me, and then, you know, the conversation goes off on a tangent because we start to talk about us, we start to talk about our experiences, what happened to us, and leaves the person who is really affected in limbo. And so they now become the listener, the comforter, you know, when really the conversation was geared toward giving that person some kind of relief by being able to find somebody that can understand, or they can relate to and feel a sense of being heard, appreciating where they're coming from without coming to a conclusion, and be able to move on from that to receive any kind of comfort or encouragement. So I would really discourage persons, you know, who have a tendency to go off the handle, even if sometimes, you know, you may be trying to relate to someone by bringing up an identifiable situation or feeling. Always bear in mind that this conversation is not about you, it's about the individual.
It's about listening.
It's I was gonna get to that. It's absolutely about listening, and it's not listening to respond, and it's not listening to I have these pre-existing steps to deal with losing a dog, so I'm just waiting for her or him to stop talking for me to say, well, this is what you should do, this is what I would do, and this is what you can do. It is instead listening to the person to try and understand what, go into their world. Why are you so affected by, and you'll probably find that the person is affected by the loss of their dog because they really have nobody else, and that dog was a sense of comfort or for whatever other reason. So I think it's very important to rid oneself, or to engage in the practice of emptying one's predisposing thoughts and biases towards what they would do and how they would handle the situation when dealing with somebody else, in terms of expressing a sense of I appreciate where you're coming from. So that's what empathy can mean. I appreciate where you're coming from. You do have a point. It is legitimized. I am sorry for your experience. Not sympathizing, you feel sorry for them, but more trying to let the person know that I can appreciate the gravity. Even if I don't understand, I appreciate the gravity of your experience or how you feel. And I just want you to know that it counts. I've also found that it's very important in extending empathy to someone to listen actively, as we said before, have a sense of congruence about your person. You want to be of some kind of help, you want to be some kind of relief for someone, and so that kind of congruence, that kind of openness, it will better position you to be willing to listen, not to respond, but to listen, to be able to try to understand. Having a sense of respect for people and the situations, no matter how bizarre or underrated it may seem to be, just to also have a sense of unconditional positive regard. It doesn't matter who you are, no matter what you know the person to be, no matter if they may be right or wrong in the situation, it's giving them an opportunity to air out whatever is affecting them. Those things are very important when one is considering to extend empathy to another, because at the end of the day, there are some persons who will believe that persons have it in themselves to solve their own problems, or are able to be led through active listening, through just facilitating, persons feeling understood and their concerns being legitimate. They can talk themselves through to coming up with their own solution. So it's not so much about providing therapy when helping someone. It's a strong system of support. It's a strong system of just letting the person know that you're gonna try as much as possible to be there for them, and the best way that you can be there for somebody is to let them feel as though what they're experiencing is legitimate. So in closing, empathy in essence is striving to understand where a person is coming from, why they feel the way they feel, their interpretation of whatever situation has occurred, and just letting them know that their feeling is legitimate and working from there to a workable solution. If you're a person who you believe that you're low on empathy, you can seek to work on your listening skills, your soft skills, just being relatable, just showing a sense of care and concern. That alone breaks down a lot of apprehensions about whether or not I'm speaking to the right person or not. And have respect for people of all sorts and types. Also, it's very important to ensure that when you are seeking to extend empathy, to let it be about the other person and not about you. The focus is always the person and how it is that you can gain understanding from what their experience is.
Okay, Sanjal, before you go, we have a questionnaire, a little test that we saw on psychologytools.com. We're gonna go through it with you. Just to do a real life scenario as to where you are. So you're going to be making yourself vulnerable to our viewers.
Oh, okay.
So we'll post the link in the description for those who are watching who would want to do this test. It's from psychologytools.com, and we'll post the link. So question number 1, you have to choose from never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always. So it's 5 options here. So it's never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always. I'll repeat it each time after each question.
Okay.
Question number 1. When someone else is feeling excited, I tend to get excited too. So it's never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always.
Always.
Always. Alright, I ticked always there for you. Number 2, other people's misfortunes do not disturb me a great deal. So it's never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always.
It always does.
Always.
Does.
Always does. Alright. Number 3, it upsets me to see someone being treated disrespectfully.
Always.
Always. Number 4, I remain unaffected when someone close to me is happy.
Never.
Never? Alright.
To mean that I'm always affected when I see someone close to me happy.
So never is your final answer?
Always.
Always it is. Seems like you can't put always at everything. Number 5, I enjoy making other people feel better. I guess you can't put always, right?
Always.
Always, alright. Number 6, I have tender concern feelings for people less fortunate than me.
Absolutely, always.
Always? Often is also an option,
Absolutely, always.
Always.
It's always an option, right?
Yeah. Number 7, when a friend starts to talk about his or her problem, I try to steer the conversation towards something else. Often, sometimes, rarely, never.
Rarely.
Rarely. So rare. Finally get a rarely. Rarely get a rarely. Number 8. As a matter of fact, it's 16 questions, so we're just halfway through. I can tell when others are sad, even when they do not say anything.
Often.
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 Where's
Yeah.
often on this again? Okay, often is over here. I don't want to put the wrong score for you.
Okay.
Number 9. I find that I am in tune with other people's mood.
Often.
Often. Wow, move from always now.
Yeah.
Number 10. I do not feel sympathy for people who cause their own serious illness.
Never.
Never.
Never to be that I always feel sympathy for persons who cause
Is it
their.
never or always?
I always feel sympathy. Those
Let me read the
questions.
question again.
Yes, go again.
I do not feel sympathy for people who cause their own serious illness.
I always feel sympathy.
So the answer is always or never. Never. Alright, number 11.
Empathize with
I'm trying to empathize with you. Number 11. I become irritated when someone cries. Sometimes. Never. Often. Rarely.
It's a swing between rarely and never.
It's a swing between rarely and never. I put rarely.
Okay.
Number 12. I am not really interested in how other people feel.
Never.
Never. Alright. Number 13. 3 to go. I get a strong urge to help when I see someone who is upset.
Always.
Always. Alright, back to always. Number 14. When I see someone being treated unfairly, I do not feel very much pity for them.
Never.
Never. Number 15. I find it silly for people to cry out of happiness. I find it silly.
That's me.
Never.
Never.
And number 16. When I see someone being taken advantage of, I feel kind of protective towards him or her.
Absolutely. Always.
Absolutely always. So we're checking up your scores now.
Oh boy.
Your score was 52 out of a possible 64.
Okay.
Scores above 45 are indicative of above average empathy level. So you're above average empathy? Really? You sure you
Like,
answered
woo!
the questions correctly?
I answer truthfully to the best of my
Alright,
knowledge.
alright,
Yeah.
that was good. So that was a good one. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
sharing and being open with us.
Thank you for
We
having
were
me.
actively listening to what you were saying, and we were
I'm
quite
warmed.
open and honest
I'm quite warmed.
with the responses that you gave.
Thank you
Alright,
graciously.
see you next time. I hope you enjoyed our session today on empathy and that you will try to take some of the pointers that we shared to try and improve if you have a low score. So remember, we're going to share the link for the test in the description below so that you can do the test at home. Also remember to like and share and also subscribe, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of future videos. Have a blessed day.
again.